Hello and welcome to this week's show with me, Chris Stafford and Nancy Gillen. This is season 4, episode 42 of the News Desk, and we are recording on November 7th, 2022, which is the day before our midterm elections here in the US. And Nancy, this is anxious moments over here. Do you follow any of the US politics over there? Is this something that's made the news much?
Not massively. I think I was aware of it just because it's, something that, I follow people that are interested in politics and stuff on Twitter. But I think just our own political situation over here has taken up a bit of space on the news, and things like COP as well, like the environmental event, I think is definitely making all the headlines. But it's definitely something that's on the radar. But I imagine it's a lot more significant in the US itself.
Yeah, it is absolutely huge, and so much hinges on the outcome tomorrow evening. So it's just as well we're doing this podcast today, so we can focus on the sport of the week, the last week. Some of it is a continuation of news that we've been following, and some of it is actually new. And we're going to start with gymnastics, Nancy, because this has been happening for the last few days in Liverpool, in the north of England, and there's been some surprise results, some nice results for British gymnasts too. So I know that you'd love to do a roundup of this because you want to make sure people know that you follow other sports besides football once the football season starts. And we're going to get, of course, to a football roundup later on in the show. But let's start with gymnastics.
Of course, and I was, especially with this taking place in Liverpool, it has been a big event this week. But for the host Britain, it was actually a really successful competition, with the team as a whole winning a silver medal, which was actually the best ever result by a British women's team at World Championships. So that team was Alice Kinsella, Georgia May Fenton, Jennifer Gadirova and Jessica Gadirova, the twins, Ondine Anchampong and Poppy Grace Stickler. So by winning silver, they got a full team quota place for the Paris Olympics, which 2024 is not actually that far away now. It's about a year and a half off. Unsurprisingly, I think the US took gold. And then it was also a historic bronze medal for Canada as well, who I think maybe a bit more, not necessarily renowned for their gymnastics skill. So, quite a big deal there. And then, I mentioned the Gadirova twins, who are both quite young at the moment, so kind of still quite, early days for them. But Jessica Gadirova became the world champion in the floor event. So she got a score of 14.2, which was some way above the rest of the field. Leapfrogging Jordan Chiles of the US, who got silver, and Chiles was I remember her competing at the Olympics, so that's like an Olympic gymnast.
Yes.
And then Rebecca Andrade of Brazil and Jade Carey of the US shared bronze themselves. So Gadirova became Britain's youngest ever gymnastics world champion, and only the second British woman to win a world title after Beth Tweddle.
Well, that in itself, Nancy, her beating Jordan Chiles was quite a big deal.
Oh, a massive deal. I mean, especially, like I said, with the US winning the team gold, I think that's not very surprising because the US absolutely thrive in gymnastics. And Chiles is a really, really good gymnast. And it was only, I remember the Gadirova twins competing at the Olympics last year, and they were, great, amazing. Obviously, to compete at Olympic level, you have to be really talented, but they weren't really necessarily pushing at the medals. So obviously, Jessica Gadirova's had a massive step up this year to become world champion. And I imagine the home crowd probably helped her a bit, but I imagine it's all her hard work and talent as well. So really good news for Britain heading into the Olympics in 2024 as well, that Gadirova seems to be on her way to becoming one of the world's best.
Yeah, you can imagine that would bolster their confidence, thinking now and knowing now that the Americans are beatable.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even with Britain getting silver in the team event, suggests that maybe they can push for gold in the team event as well, which would be quite remarkable.
Yeah, that's very, very exciting. And that all finished yesterday, didn't it, this weekend in Liverpool?
Yeah, so yeah, it was taking place last week and finished up this weekend. So yeah, I think I didn't manage to get up there myself, but I know a few people that went and they said the atmosphere was really good. So yeah, it was obviously a really successful event for Liverpool.
Did that get much media coverage on TV particularly? Did that get any regular coverage during the week?
It was on TV, and it definitely received quite a lot of coverage. I think definitely Jessica Gadirova as well, just winning her specifically, becoming a world champion. It did have quite a lot to compete with in terms of women's sport anyway, with just football happening, the Rugby World Cup, Rugby League World Cup, which is also happening in England, and then WTA Finals as well. So there was a lot of competition for kind of space in the media. But yeah, no, it definitely still got a fair bit of recognition and coverage.
Well, we had a big event yesterday here over on the Eastern Seaboard, Nancy. The New York Marathon came around. It's always a big deal. Thousands of people involved. A lot of support in terms of support from other sports and athletes from other sports, which I wanted to share with you. I don't know if you saw much of this, but not surprisingly, the Kenyan Sharon Lokedi won in a time of 2 hours, 23 minutes and 23 seconds. And in the top 10, Nancy, we had 4 Kenyans and 4 Americans.
Wow.
And then an Ethiopian and the runner-up Lona Salpeter from Israel. But the ones I wanted to also mention, I'll give a shout out to, was Marit Borgen, who was, she was a former Norwegian cross-country skier. She's ranked first in the all-time cross-country World Cup rankings, having won 114 individual times. And she's also the most successful sprinter in cross-country World Cup history with 29 victories. Now, she's 42 years old. She finished in a time of 3 hours and 8 minutes and 52 seconds. And then there was another player, which a runner that you may have heard of too, is Megan Duggan, the American Olympic hockey player. She retired 2 years ago, but she's obviously taken up running, and she finished in a time of 3 hours, 52 minutes and a few seconds. So, you get more and more of these athletes coming from other sports, Nancy, that have a go at a marathon, that are from professional sport too. So that's always fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's quite cool to see the times of these other athletes as well, and see how you might measure up to them. Obviously, all sports need different. Running stamina is not the key skill for their sport. So, it might be possible that you could run a marathon at the same time as like an Olympian or something, which is quite cool.
It really is. Well, take Marit Borgen, the Norwegian cross-country skier. She was the most successful sprinter in cross-country World Cup history. So what she was doing was completely opposite, right, to what she's normally training for. Completely different set of running skills.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really, really cool. And I think, how unique is that to New York Marathon? Because I know obviously London and stuff is open to anyone that wants to do it if they apply. But I don't think I've seen many athletes from other sports compete in running the London Marathon before.
We should do a bit of digging, shouldn't we now?
Yeah, I think we should. Maybe who's the fastest non-marathon runner athlete?
A former pro athlete of any sport.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Well, we know who can run fast, moving on now to a completely different sport, and who can really run fast. And we saw some really spectacular moments from the Rugby World Cup so far down there in New Zealand. If you've been following it, you'll know that England are going to meet New Zealand in the final next weekend. England won over Canada and New Zealand over France in the semi-finals, and some spectacular sprinting. Nancy, did you get to watch any of this?
Yes, I think I know. Is it Abby Dow's try? Is that what you are referencing? Yes.
Yeah.
I did see a video of that. I wasn't able to watch the match because it's very early. I am going to get up to watch the final, but the time was quite difficult. But I watched the highlights, and the try was absolutely incredible. It was absolutely rapid, just one end of the pitch to the other.
Yeah, I mean, it would only touch two players from one end of the pitch to the other.
Yeah, and I think it was towards the end where she was getting near getting really near to scoring the try, and one of the Canadian players came relatively close, and just one hand to push her away, and she kept going. That was my favourite bit. It was brilliant.
Yeah, push the other girl off balance. Really, like, you don't mess with me. Yeah, it's been extraordinary. And our friend Zoe George, you remember, was hosting a podcast for us when she was with Radio New Zealand a few years ago. She hosted Fair Play and also hosted Radio New Zealand with me a long time ago. She's, of course, a keen sports follower, keen cricketer and rugby player, and she has been up to Auckland from Wellington. She's gone up there for those semi-finals, and she's also going to the finals. She was at a party with the American team, apparently, the other night. She was texting me. She sent me a photo of her in party mood, having partied with the Americans. And she said she was only one of two straight women there. So she's having a big time, and she'll be back for the final there. As with Ilona Meyer, of course. Ilona Meyer plays for the US Rugby Sevens. She's down there doing some media work for TikTok. So she's been doing some crazy things down there, and she's also passed a milestone on TikTok. She became a fan favorite, of course, if you remember, Nancy, from the Olympics last year. Yep. Built quite the audience, and now she's built her TikTok following up to 1 million followers. So well done, Lo. And she's having a big time reporting on the rugby down in New Zealand. And there's, I think, some Rugby Sevens going to be taking place pretty soon here. I think before the end of the year in Dubai. I think they go back to Dubai. So she's got a lot of running to do herself. But so those finals, Nancy, are next week of the Rugby World Cup. And I know, of course, with it being in New Zealand, there's nothing like a home win, but England are favourite, aren't they?
They are, yeah. And it's, I think, an amazing achievement just to be in a World Cup final against New Zealand and be favourites. I think that shows how far they've come. But, of course, there's absolutely no way that they're going to be taking that for granted or going in and not respecting the New Zealand team, because it is going to be incredibly difficult. And there was an opinion piece in The Guardian saying that there's been a massive demand now for the last remaining seats for the final. So it's a 40,000 capacity stadium, and I'm going to imagine probably 99% are going to be supporting New Zealand. So, of course, England have that extra obstacle of going against the home crowd and trying to overcome probably quite a hostile atmosphere for them. So, yeah, that will probably be difficult as well. And, yeah, I thought personally it was interesting how close both the semi-finals were. England against Canada, it was pretty nervy, and then New Zealand, France, even more so. I think it was really, really close. So I think it's great that there is that competitiveness in women's rugby now, where you've got, I think these are definitely the two teams that everyone expected to be in the final, but I don't think it was plain sailing for them to get there, which was great. And yes. I think it'd be brilliant if England managed to win as well. So, yeah, it's 6 a.m. here is the kickoff, so I'll be up to watch that on Saturday. You can imagine how aggressive the haka is going to be in that final. Oh, my goodness. They are going to be all out trying to intimidate the Red Roses, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's going to be quite a spectacle. So, yeah, good luck to the Red Roses and good Red Roses, and good luck to the Black Ferns. May the best team win. Yeah, I mean, it's I'm definitely supporting England, but as long as it's an entertaining match, it's a great advert for women's rugby. Yeah, I think it's going to be. All right. So we'll bring you the results of that next week on the show. And we'll also have the results of the final of the WTA Finals, which actually take place this evening. And that's going to be between Sabalenka and Garcia. Caroline Garcia, well done getting to the final there. But it was a ding-dong of
semi-finals there. I think you were surprised that Sabalenka beat Iga Swiatek.
I was surprised, yeah. I think when we spoke about this tournament at the start, I wasn't expecting Sabalenka to have that great a tournament, just because she struggled a bit this year. I think she had the tour's highest amount of double faults this season. But it kind of seems like things are coming together for her. And yeah, she beat Iga Swiatek 6-2, 2-6, 6-1. So over 3 sets.
And let's remind everybody that Iga Swiatek, well, she's had an amazing year, but she was number 1 seed going into this, and Sabalenka was number 7.
Yeah, exactly. And hardly anyone's been beaten Iga this season. It's a really hard task. So to do so is pretty impressive. And yeah, we'll go into that final against Garcia, who beat Maria Sakkari 6-3, 6-2. So a bit more of a comfortable victory there. So yeah, I think if you'd asked me to predict the 2 finalists, I would not have gone with Sabalenka and Garcia. But obviously, actually, you know what? Garcia's had a good season and had a lot of upsets against bigger names. But yeah, I was quite surprised about Sabalenka. And it suggests that if she can kind of, I know we've got a bit of a break before Australian Open in January, but potentially this could lead into a really, really good year for her, and finally kind of things coming together for Sabalenka.
Yes. Yeah, because she's got tremendous reach. She's very tall and got tremendous reach. And you know, to come up against Swiatek when she hasn't had the kind of season that Swiatek has had, a really, really, really exciting semi-final there, and well done to Sabalenka. But I think the final's going to be interesting. Who's your money on then now? Because Garcia's had cracking form this year too.
Yeah, I'd like to see Garcia win it. You know, I do really like Sabalenka, but I think Garcia's she's performed really well against some big players in tournaments, including Grand Slams, but hasn't necessarily kind of got the reward for that. So I think it'd be quite nice to see her win the WTA Finals. She did seem to have a much easier semi-final as well. Only 2 pretty comfortable sets against Maria Sakkari, compared to Sabalenka going 3 sets against Swiatek. So yeah, I'm going to back Garcia, I think.
Okay. I think I'm with you. Although Sabalenka must be on some really good form, and she's obviously going to be fired up having beat Iga. I've seen the pictures of her, you know, like so overwhelmed by winning and beating her that, that's going to really fire her up. It's going to be super exciting. That happens tonight, the final in Fort Worth in Texas. So follow that. If you're a tennis fan, I'm sure you're already following every blow by blow of that game, and also, of course, it's the doubles final as well tonight. So we'll have more of that next week. That's really going to be a roundup of tennis for us for this season, as you said, Nancy. Before we get into the Australian Open, when we get into January, that seems a long way off, but I'm sure it's not. We're going to move on now, and we're going to get into some soccer now, some football. Why don't we start, Nancy, with a roundup of the WSL this week? So I think your team won again, like unbeaten this season, something like that?
Unbeaten, yeah, the only team unbeaten this season.
Only team, I'm sorry.
The only team unbeaten.
Sorry, yes, I should I should have emphasised that. The only team on the WSL unbeaten now.
Yeah, and it was 4-0 victory against Leicester, which, in fairness, no disrespect to Leicester, but I think if you were to predict a team that you would get a victory against the season, it probably would be Leicester. They've had a really tough start to the season and bottom of the table with no points at all. But yeah, still 4-0 victory is really impressive. So Arsenal now are actually quite solidified at the top of the table, because Chelsea and Man U played yesterday, and Chelsea won 3-1. So Man U had been the only team that was unbeaten, other than Arsenal. But yeah, they got their first defeat of the season yesterday to Chelsea, and then Chelsea as well had also lost previously in the season. So to Liverpool, a really shock defeat at the start of the campaign. So Arsenal and Chelsea are currently level on points with 18 at the top of the table, but only because Chelsea have a match in hand. So if Arsenal were to win their game in hand, Arsenal have a game in hand, not Chelsea. So if Arsenal were to win that, then they'd be 3 points ahead of Chelsea. So yeah, it's looking pretty good for Arsenal at the moment. There was quite a dramatic match between Brighton and West Ham, which Brighton won 5-4, which I think was, I didn't get to watch that one, but it looked a bit back and forth and chaotic. And Brighton have recently sacked their manager, Hope Powell. So that's obviously they're in a bit of turmoil at the moment. And then, the other results of the day, of the weekend even, Man City beat Reading 3-0. So they're kind of creeping back up the table. And then Aston Villa beat Liverpool 1-0.
1-0, yeah. And that was a Rachel Daly penalty, wasn't it, for Aston Villa?
Yeah, she's having a great season as well. I think that's her 5th goal or 6th goal of the season now. So yeah.
But there was one game that was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch.
There was, and it's been. I saw a bit of a debate about this on Twitter because you never want to see. I think women's football games postponed because of the weather, because it suggests that the pitches aren't good enough. It was very heavy rain here, so I can understand it. But I think it does. If it's the top flight of women's football and teams are meant to be professional, then they probably should be playing on pitches which can handle rain and drain the pitch. So I think a lot of Everton players took to Twitter to complain about the fact that the game was postponed because of weather reasons. That's still kind of something that does hinder the women's game a bit, in that they play on these pitches which, when the weather gets bad, when it rains a lot, or if it snows, that games get called off. So that's still something that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, for sure. All right, more action next week from the WSL. And meanwhile, this past week, we heard that there's a new women's national team competition system being announced. Yes, this is quite a confusing one. So it's essentially, I don't know if for anyone with knowledge of men's football, it's basically like a Nations League. So it's going to first be played in the lead up to the Euros in 2025. So it will start next autumn. Essentially, the Nations League puts football teams into tiers. So I think for the women's game, it will be 3 tiers. So every team will play in groups of 4 or 3 in each tier, depending on how good they are or their world ranking. So England, just to take for instance, will be in the top tier because European champions, one of the best teams in the world, and then they'll play other teams which are of the same caliber essentially, and then within these tiers there's opportunity for promotion or relegation, or obviously if you're in the top tier you can play a Nations League final and kind of win the Nations League as such. And it'll just be kind of played in a group round robin format, so everyone's got home and away. Every 4 years, it will determine the 3 European teams that qualify for the Olympics. So previously, this had been based on the on the World Cup, and I think there was a bit of controversy there because if a team has a bad tournament and doesn't, do well in the World Cup, with a lot of other European teams also competing, then it means big teams miss out on the Olympics. So, for instance, Tokyo, we didn't have France or Germany, who are arguably 2 of the best teams. So I think this will just allow the best teams to be competing at the Olympics. And then also, it will also, the final ranking, this is quite lengthy, at the end of the European qualifiers, which is established by the Nations League, that will also then lead to qualifications for the Euros and the Women's World Cup as well. So essentially it tries to make women's football more competitive because the teams that you're playing will be more of your kind of caliber, I suppose. So there's not going to be any more 12-0 against Latvia and stuff like that. Latvia will be playing the teams that will help them improve, and they will have the opportunity, if they do improve, to be promoted into a higher tier.
And then it also makes games and matches more competitive for the best teams like England and France and Germany and so on. So yeah, I think it's something that people definitely have been calling out for. But it also will result in more international football, which, yeah, with the calendar kind of being already quite busy and stuff like injuries and so on, it's maybe might congest the schedule up a bit more. But I think ultimately it is a good thing if it makes women's football more competitive.
Yeah, it does that, right? So, the swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It is adding to the international schedule, as you mentioned. And we've got a World Cup to look forward to next year. And, of course, part of that preparation is to have some matches against some of the best countries in the world, that's for sure. And this is important that they're friendlies, so it doesn't count to anything, but it's really good match practice. And we've got both sides of the Atlantic. We've got Germany in this week on the 10th and the 13th. We're playing 2 games. And over there, you've got 2 also against Japan. We've mentioned this before, against Japan and against Norway. So on the 11th, day after us. And then the 2 days after ours. So November. So if you're paying attention, US will play Germany on November the 10th. The Lionesses, the England, will play Japan on November 11th. And then the US plays Germany again on the 13th, and England plays Norway on the 15th. And the rosters have been announced, Nancy, but over here I just want to mention that there are quite a few people, players, are still out with injury. And we've had news from our head coach, Vlatko Andonovski, of the timelines for those injuries. Nancy, I sent those to you. It just reminds us how many players are out. So it's looking like a comeback in January for Tiana Davidson, Emily Sonnet, Kelly O'Hara, Lynn Williams, and Casey Kruger. And not till February or March for Kat Macario, Chris Press, and Tobin Heath. And then 3 that are unknown when they'll come back are Julie Ertz, Sam Mewis, and Abby Dalkemper. That's a lot of US team players, Nancy, that are on the sidelines with injuries. Yeah,
it is. And it's really, I guess it's hard to judge as well where the US are really at when so many big names are on the sidelines. I mean, obviously the last friendly window was quite disappointing for the US with defeats to England and Spain. But yeah, like you said, that's such a long list of injuries that you're missing some really key players. So I think, yeah, I imagine fans will be hoping that changes quite quickly so the team can really get prepared for the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, when you look to January and then we've got to wait till February or March for Kat Macario, Kristen Press, or Tobin Heath to be fully fit again. Yeah, it is a long wait. And also I should mention that the USWNT have announced 2 more friendlies. This is against New Zealand on January the 17th and 20th, and they will take place at Sky Stadium in Wellington and also at the famous Eden Park in Auckland as well. And that takes us to playing the host nation for the World Cup next year, Nancy. This will be a good exercise, obviously, to go down there and have that chance to play where the World Cup's going to take place, but not tough competition for them. So it won't be a big test of what actually happens on the field. I wouldn't think so.
No, yeah. But like you said, I think in terms of acclimatizing, I guess, to the country that you'd be playing a World Cup on is definitely a clever move. So, yeah, I'm interested to see if any other teams follow suit and do similar.
Yes, because your team, England team, is going down to Spain for your 2 friendlies against Japan and Norway, aren't they? Yeah,
that's correct. So they'll be in Murcia for those 2 matches. So, yeah, the first on Friday and against Norway on Tuesday. Actually, some relatively breaking news from that, in that Jordan Nobbs and Lauren Hemp have had to withdraw from the squad with injury.
No.
Yeah, quite. I'm really hoping with Jordan Nobbs at least that, well, both of them, of course, but particularly Jordan Nobbs, it's nothing massively serious because, yeah, Jordan Nobbs has kind of been in and out of the England squad and has finally kind of been able to have a bit of playing time at Arsenal and has got back in the squad. So I'm hoping that's something that's kind of like a week or so, a minor knock. But yeah, that's quite gutting for her. And Gabby George, the Everton defender, has been pulled up in to replace, well, both of them, I guess, because, yeah, Serena's just named one replacement. So yeah, there's been another earlier in the week. Frank Herbie also withdrew from the squad with a viral infection, and Jess Park, another Everton player on loan from Manchester City, has replaced her. So a bit of kind of alternating, but yeah, it's the kind of two friendlies against good teams that will just kind of help Biegman, I suppose, fine tune her squad and test out new players and stuff. So it's definitely a shame to see the injuries, but I guess it's not kind of the end of the world.
Yeah, hopefully, and as you said, they're friendlies, but hopefully Jordan, as you say, particularly, who's been plagued by injuries. And she, we should mention, also got to wear the captain's armband this past weekend for Arsenal, didn't she?
She did, yeah. So Kim Litter was being injured, and yeah, she got to wear the armband, which is really nice to see, because she's been at England for years and she's such a legend of the club. It's nice to see her be captain. Yes.
All right. Well, we'll bring you more news of that as it happens throughout November with all of those games. We're going to turn to some cycling news. Tour de France Femmes route has been unveiled, Nancy. How did you find that?
Yeah, so this is, I actually got an email about it because last year I went to the Tour de France Femmes. So,
oh yeah, you're the in crowd now, aren't you? You actually been to the Tour de France.
Yeah, so I got sent the new stage. So it's quite a similar format to the one last year, which technically was the inaugural Tour de France Femmes. It had happened in kind of in previous years in various guises, but this is kind of the first official one that was linked with the men's. So yeah, they've kind of stuck to a relatively similar format. So a total of 8 stages, beginning on the day the men's Tour de France finishes. But I think they've kind of shaken it up a little bit. So it's not gonna start in Paris. It's going to start in Clermont-Ferrand.
Clermont-Ferrand was where Formula One motor racing track.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, so obviously quite an iconic sporting place, and yeah, more in the south of France than the north. So it's kind of opening, even though it takes place the same weekend as the men's finishes. It's kind of more of a standalone event for the women's, and it's I mean, I was at the opening stage last year, and it was a little bit, it was just kind of a loop of the Champs-Élysées, so it wasn't the most exciting, but I think they're making, the opening stage a bit more exciting with climbs and things like that. And then, it kind of goes around the southish and then ends in, is it Pau? P-A-U?
Pau. Yeah, Pau.
Ends in
Pau in the southwest of France. That's also the site of another major sports event. It's Nancy. I can tell you that hosts it used to be 4-star, now a 5-star 3-day event. Sport of eventing.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, so they've obviously picked
the last one of the season in Europe. Yeah, another big sporting venue.
The iconic places, obviously.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? They've tied them, motor racing to equestrian sport. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, thank you for that, Nancy. We're going to finish this week with Skiing World Cup news and non-news, really, because more races have been cancelled. The parallel from Lech Suez in Austria, that's been cancelled, and that adds to Solden. You'll remember in Austria, which is normally the start of the season, that has been rescheduled because that had to be cancelled through lack of snow, and that's now going to take place on December 27th in Semmering, also in Austria. And that also hosts giant slalom on the 28th and slalom on the 29th. And the last time, and this is a shout out for Michaela Schifrin, the American skier, because she's going to come out all guns blazing this year for sure, especially with the delayed start. The last time that Semmering staged those 3 races in 3 days was in 2016, and she won all of them. So I'm sure she's looking forward to that now. Everything's focused on Semmering. But meanwhile, in November, we've got Levi in Finland for a slalom. That's the 19th, 20th weekend. And then they all come over here to Killington in Vermont, near Vermont. In Vermont, sorry. That's on the 26th and 27th of November, and that's just going to be a giant slalom before they then go up to Canada, to Lake Louise. This is a traditional loop. They go up there for the downhill. That's the first downhill of the season, and a Super G. And that's going to be November 29th and December 4th before they go back to Europe. They go to France, and on the season goes. But I say all this, Nancy, because the season has just not got off to the usual start because there's no snow. A lack of snow, can't ski without snow, can we?
No, and yeah, it's definitely a negative of the warmer autumn we're having. But yeah, I mean, over here it's got a lot colder, so you'd hope in the rest of Europe that it would start getting cold enough to produce some snow.
And I don't know what the snow's been like up in Vermont. I need to call up our friend Peggy Shin, who lives up there. She lives near Killington, to see what the snow is like, if there indeed has been any snow yet. Because right now, I can tell you, here in Middlebow, Virginia, on November 7th, it is 76 degrees, Nancy. I am going to get out on my bike after we finish recording, because it's extraordinarily warm. And that is going to change. It's all going to change, and we're going to get to more seasonal weather. But yeah, you talk about the warm weather and lack of snow in Europe. We've really got the same problem here. So it'll be interesting to see how the season kicks off. We're going to find out what's happening up in Killington and if we've got enough snow for that later this month. But that about wraps it up, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Another, action-packed week, really. A lot of finals to look forward to this week as well, with rugby and tennis.
Rugby and tennis, yeah. What else are you following?
Well, you know what? This week I actually have this whole week off work, so I'm going to have to try extra hard to be staying engaged. But yeah, no, WTA Finals I won't be able to watch because of the time difference, but I'll be catching up on that in the morning. And yeah, I guess just looking forward to the Rugby World Cup final this weekend.
All right. Good for you. Nice to have a week out. Are you allowed to say are you ready to announce what you're going to be doing on your week off?
I am, yeah. I'm very happy to speak about it. I don't know for sure if it definitely will happen, but I guess it holds me accountable to spend this week actually doing it. But yeah, I have a book idea to write a book about a woman called Alice Milliat, who was a very influential woman in sport in kind of the 1920s, 30s, 40s. Well, not as late as the 40s, but yeah, she was quite a significant part in campaigning for women's inclusion in the Olympics. So I'm researching and writing a book about her, which hopefully will get published. If anyone wants to reach out, let me know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've kind of had some annual leave to take, so I wanted to take have a period of time where I'm fully dedicating myself to it. So yeah, I should be doing that this week.
Okay, well, can't wait to read that. So good luck with the research and the writing, and let us know, how that progresses. And Nancy, we also should flag up our plans or lack of a change of direction, or that we're coming to the end of our series here on the news desk later this year. And this has been season 4, and we've recorded almost every week for the last 4 years, bringing you the news of the week from around the world of women's sports. But we're both sort of moving on to do different things, and we're just going to, draw the curtains on this particular show later this month. I think it's beginning of December. So we've got a few more episodes to go, Nancy, but it's been a fun ride, hasn't it?
Yeah, a really fun ride. And it's, been so much fun. So, well, yeah, thank you for inviting me to do it and being part of it for the past. It's quite hard to believe it's been kind of, 4 years. But yeah, it's taught me a lot about podcasting and stuff, and then has really helped me keep up to date with literally everything that's happening in women's sport as well. So it's been, so much fun.
It has. All right. As I say, we've got a few more episodes to go, but we'll be wrapping up on this show in probably the first or second week in December. But I'm sure Nancy will be coming to you with all kinds of other ideas as well. And also, I've got other things that are happening too. So stay tuned. But for now, Nancy, remind everybody how they can find you and follow you before we leave today.
Yep. So my Twitter handle is Nancy_Gillen, and my Instagram handle is NancyGillen_sport. And then I write for Gimme Sport Women. So our Twitter handle is Gimme Sport W, and you can also visit our website to read all our articles there as well.
And if you really want to go back into the archives for the hundreds and thousands of shows that we've done here at WiSP Sports, you can go to wisports.com. Of course, follow us on your podcast app and also on social media at WiSP Sports. But for now, that's it from Nancy and me. And we will be back next week with more news from around the world of women's sports. So enjoy. I hope you're going to do some running, Nancy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I'm looking for. I think it's going to be just get up in the morning, have a run, and then hopefully do some writing. So it should be a really nice week.
Well, good luck with that. We'll see you back here next week, same time, same place. And thank you for listening.